When it comes to Ocean City, you either fall in one of two camps. You absolutely love it and can't get enough, or you absolutely hate it, or you think it's a terrible place to own real estate. So in today's video, I want to talk about the 5 biggest misconceptions that I hear on a daily basis talking to people who are either thinking about buying in the area or who simply have left because of some of these reasons. Let's dive right in. Starting off at number 1, we have one of the things I've hit on in many videos, that Ocean City is a ghost town in the winter. There's nobody around. And while that may have been true, and when I was growing up many years ago, it simply isn't the case anymore. That goes in so many facets, not only in the amount of people who are in town, but the businesses that now remain open. It used to be a food desert, as I would call it, but now we have numerous restaurants who do stay open throughout the off season. Now, I don't want to give the picture that everybody stays open, the boardwalk's wide open. That's simply not the case. But compared to how it used to be, and honestly, compared to what you may need on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, there's plenty to get you through. So again, it has improved so much with the amount of people who come down. It's no longer just a 3-month town. We are pushing steadily at about 9 months of activity and people coming on a consistent basis to enjoy everything that we have to offer. Now, number 2 is something I hear very frequently, that it's not near anything. People who came up or are used to being in or around a city feel so out of place here for more than a couple days. They don't know what to do with themselves. But I have to say, with everything that we have nearby, and I'm not just talking Summers Point and the surrounding immediate area, but we are an hour drive from Philly. We are a 2.5 hour drive from New York. We are about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive from Baltimore, 3.5 hours to DC. So beyond that, I don't know how much more near things you can be. If you really like the heat of the city, if you like being busy and having everything that city life brings, obviously this is going to feel like you are living out in left field. But for what we have, not only year round, as I just mentioned, but within easy driving distance and public transportation distance, we are close enough to just about anything you could want to go to. Number 3 is a simple one. We have no jobs. There's no careers here. If you're thinking about moving here full time, that is something that I'm sure you think or have been told by countless people. When I moved back here myself, it was one of the concerns that I had. Coming from corporate America in the finance world, I knew that there really wasn't anything here on the island for me that would fit what my job traditionally was. But what I want to highlight here is 2 things. Number 1, when the days of remote work, you can obviously live not exactly wherever you want, but within reason. If you still have to go to the office 1, 2, 3 days a week, or even more rare than that, you can live anywhere you want. And that occasional commute, it really isn't a big deal. Now, the second component of it is, again, what drew me here and what we've thrived on since we moved back here is really the entrepreneurial opportunity here on the island. And everybody that I come across who is unhappy in their current career or their role, it's something that I talk about with ease because there's so much opportunity here in a tourist town to build a business. And the community here is so supportive of local businesses and small businesses. And that's what really keeps the community running. So there's a lot of opportunity here in non-conventional ways, but also, again, in conventional ways. If you need to be in the office 5 days a week, it's going to be a little tough. You may have to commute. But the bulk of jobs here are in a few sectors. Number 1 being real estate. There's over 500 licensed agents with our board of realtors on the island. Number 2, we have a lot of teachers here and public servants. Number 3, we have a lot of construction folks. Number 4, we have a ton of business owners, and that's here locally, as well as people who own businesses outside of the area. And last but not least, we have service workers. Again, there have to be people here to help maintain the island, maintain the homes, run the businesses, be employed by the businesses. So we have plenty of opportunities. It just may not be what you're used to seeing. So if you're open-minded and you want to talk about that, I'd be happy to chat about what that may look like here for you. But me personally, I decided that I was not going to let my job or my work get in the way of living somewhere where I wanted to live and building the lifestyle that I wanted to have. So again, I'd be happy to talk through that, see if I can help you out. Number 4 is that the flooding is terrible. Now, I always like to say that good flooding, bad flooding is completely subjective. Nobody knows unless you're putting a map to it, a visualization to it, exactly what that even means. But again, for people who are not used to seeing water in the streets besides when it's a torrential downpour, it's going to freak you out. But having grown up here and seen what normal flooding looks like, what bad flooding looks like, it's something that you come to terms with and you get comfortable with and make adjustments as needed. Now, there are plenty of cities that flood way worse than us that are below sea level. And honestly, yes, the flooding has gotten a little bit worse over the years as the climate has changed and tides have risen. But the city is always looking for ways to remediate that. And that's from pumping stations to get the water out faster. And that's elevating streets to try to keep some of that water away from the lower lying places so that it can be pushed to other places where it would drain more effectively. So again, I don't simply see why or how the city is going to all of a sudden succumb to the flooding issues when really it's something that they've stayed on top of for decades and are well aware of the risks of not taking care of and putting preventative plans in place. So again, if water in the streets freaks you out, you may simply not be comfortable in certain parts of town, but there are parts of town that didn't even see water in the streets during Sandy. Now, there were very few of those areas, but they do exist. So paying attention to the elevation of certain parts of town, if you're looking for a home here, is important depending on how important flooding is for you and how big of a factor it's going to play in your purchase decision. Last but not least, we have number 5. It's too expensive. A lot of people, unfortunately, have been priced out over the past few years. And that may seem like an anomaly, but if you go back over time and look at the trajectory of Ocean City real estate prices and prices of everything else, they have all gone up over time. Now, I don't want to make this a conversation about the economy or inflation, but the fact of the matter is everything has gotten more expensive no matter where you live. Real estate has gotten more expensive in any desirable community throughout the United States. So it is more expensive than it used to be. But the way that, again, I like to think of it is you have a decision to make. How do you want to live your life? And if that vision that you create is something that is attainable, there's nothing that should stop you from pursuing it. Now, if it simply is out of reach, I would encourage you to ask yourself if there are other ways that you could get to that vision. Again, a lot of times when I talk to people and have this conversation about potentially moving here or buying a second home here, it comes down to the financials of my salary is X, right? I can only make so much money at a time. Now, I'm not going to be out here telling you to go get a side gig, a side hustle, second job, third job. That's not what this video is about, and that's something you'll never hear from me. But again, having made the transition from a salaried job to something that I honestly never thought I would be comfortable in, being a commission-based job, it's the most empowering thing that I have done in my life, to be able to get out there and not have any limitation anymore as to the income I can earn. And yes, there are risks associated with it. And if I were a young single guy that had no responsibilities, I think it would be disingenuous of me for this message to be put out there. But as a father of one, soon to be two, with a wife with a lot of responsibilities, it's something that, again, I think people have limiting beliefs about what's possible. And when it comes to Ocean City, about 10% of people who actually want to buy here ever end up buying here. There are reasons the other 90% doesn't. But again, I would challenge you to really have those conversations, depending on what stage you are in your life. If you are on the younger side and you can afford to take some risk, it may be worth going down that path and really exploring what your future can look like. And I know this is getting a little bit off topic, but mindset and all of that is something that is very, very powerful and important to me. And I hate to see when people get stuck and their mindset is stuck, that they can't do something that they really want to do because of something that is within their power to change. And it may not be in their power to change it right now, but it certainly can be in the near future. And if you never make that decision to change, nothing's going to change. So that's it for today. And those are the 5 biggest misconceptions about Ocean City. Now, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, do me a favor. If you're watching this on YouTube, give me a thumbs up and a like. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you subscribe there as well, because I'm going to continue putting out content 2 times a week about Ocean City, real estate, and everything else to do with this lovely town. So that's it for today, and I will see you next time.